the government's message was build, 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 and no one's building. Like, what are they going to do? Something's going to have to give, aren't they? So hello everyone, I'm just going to get my excuses out of the way. I've literally written this afternoon with 1 day's notice. I've had a cold, I've had the cold that everyone's had as well, so if I start coughing and keel over, don't give me the kiss of life because you'll catch it as well. And also Dennis wanted me to be positive, which anyone who's seen my previous talks about the realities of development, hey, it's a two-way relationship. We moan at each other. But no, I'm realistic with development and what can go wrong. I like to make sure everybody's got their eyes open when they go into stuff. So anyway, positive me today. So why I think, and from what I'm hearing, some of it's dropped off the screen there, but why 2026 is going to be the year of the small developer. So just a little bit on me, for those who don't have the privilege of knowing me and hearing this multiple times every month. I'm Anthony Boyce. I run an architectural business, 20 years experience. I've done all kinds of weird and wonderful things, planning, consultancy, structural engineering, building surveying. So quite a lot of experience in all kinds of weird and wonderful things. I run a couple of networking events. So I run property and Poppadoms up in Newcastle. The property thing in Darlington, I know there's a few familiar faces, and I've also been a property developer for about 10 years now, and that's going from your standard buy-to-let stuff, HMOs, all the way through to commercial conversions, new builds and barn conversions and all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to try and keep this positive. First slide, problems. So just a little bit what we're covering. The problems, the numbers, obviously reasons to be cheerful and how we're going to capitalise on that and why small developers will matter and the opportunity that these present. So, problems. Dennis hit one on the head straight away there, didn't he? Renters reform. I mean, who here does buy-to-lets? I imagine quite a lot of us. And who's looking forward to... Well, I suppose it's already started, hasn't it? When did it come in? November, December, was it? Again, one of the things you mentioned there was secured tenancies, guaranteed rent, leases and stuff like that. I've had 2 emails this month, in fact, about people who've got behind on their rent already, HMO rooms. Another one who they had to, I can't remember what they were doing now. I think they had to unblock some hair from a drain. So they thought, we just won't pay you because you should have paid for that. So it's already starting, isn't it, this kind of mindset with tenants. I put there a double-edged sword as well. I don't know anyone who follows Labour on Instagram or Facebook, but they keep sort of celebrating, rates are reducing. Since we've come into power, we've reduced the rates, the mortgage rates. Obviously, anyone who knows economics and stuff, that's because the economy's a bit shit, isn't it? The rates are reducing because inflation's going down, and there's maybe a little bit of an issue with jobs and the economy and productivity. So it's good in one way. We've got rates reducing, but then also anyone who's done anything where you've had a valuation recently, anyone... Down vals, exactly, yeah. Anyone had a down val recently? Anyone got a positive valuation recently? Let's start with that one. No, God. It's mental. We had one recently where the lender, it was the lender's fault. They just turned around and said, we're not going with market value, we're going with vacant possession now, and just knocked 110 grand off the deal. But that's, again, lower mortgage costs, yay! But at the same time, there's a little bit of hesitation and reluctancy in the market, isn't it? So build costs, they're still far too high compared to end values. So this is where you've really got to knuckle down and get every kind of nut and bolt engineered before you get onto site. Larger developers are slowing down. I'm listening to the news. I think Persimmon have written off about 800, 900 million on their balance sheets recently for sites that they've overvalued and now stuck with. Going back to build costs, I think the average house costs about £270,000 a 3-bed detached house, like on a new build site. I think it's 280 grand to build, and they're only able to sell them for about 270. So they're slowing down. There's no point building them if they can't sell them, or they're going to take a loss. So all of a sudden, confidence is reducing. Larger developers are slowing down. That creates this opportunity, doesn't it? Not that we're going to be building, I imagine, sites of 300 houses or anything like that, but someone needs to pick up the pieces. Oh, taxation. God, what was it? Another 2% on personally owned properties. I mean, Dennis mentioned there, that's probably the final nail in the coffin for a lot of these legacy landlords who have got these large portfolios. Is it really worth it anymore? I put business taxation there, you know, what was it? Business rates, pubs, some of them have doubled, tripled overnight. So there's all of these problems, but where there's problems, it's creating opportunities. And I put there certain things are taking longer to move. I mean, Dennis probably knows a bit more, but certain properties seem to be flying off the shelves, whereas certain ones do not seem to be. But yeah, where there's this time to buy is when there's blood on the streets, and I think that is the opportunity we're facing there. There we go. So average new build, 3-bed, 284, sale price 270 though. Inflation has slowed to 3.2%. They're predicting 2.2 to 2.5% in 2026. But in real terms, the average house price only rose by 0.6% last year. So just by owning property, you're actually losing money. So this is the reality of it all, isn't it? But rents are on the rise. So although we've got to be careful when we're buying and maybe not thinking, right, let's over leverage and keep money tied into properties. If you take a longer view with these things, there is opportunity longer term. When Labour came in, they set this manifesto target of 1.5 million homes, and in their first year, or was it the second year now? I think it's the second year actually, isn't it? So last year anyway, they had to get 300,000 homes, and they only managed to get newly built 208,600. So there's a shortfall there of obviously nearly 100,000. Add that to the shortfall we've had for numerous years over time. The problem is only getting worse. Planning permissions down by 7%, and then home completions, although new build starts were up, the actual amount of homes that were completed is down as well. So all I'm trying to highlight here is we've got this massive shortfall in homes that we need to be able to build for people. So reasons to be cheerful, yay! So I put this as a reason to be cheerful. There was 41,500 people who came across on small boats in the Channel last year. So just to put that in perspective, this is people we weren't expecting, you know, nothing to do with migration or anything like that, but that's the size of Redcar. Like, isn't that mental that there's, you know, that many people that we've got to house? Now, these aren't obviously people who are going to have money for deposits. So again, talk what Dennis has just said there. People are on low. I mean, I would say, God, there's an opportunity for asylum seekers. You know, why not house them? If the government, and it's Labour, isn't it? You know, they're going to be welcoming this this kind of tenant type. Why not house them and make some money that way? So the government, as I said, missed their own manifesto target. And then also on top of that, you've got local councils have got what's called a housing supply target. So, you know, for example, Darlington, who's going hell for leather in trying to get all of these big developments, I reckon we're going for city status. 189 councils missed their own 5-year housing supply target. And what that means is they're going to reset the books and potentially make it a little easier for people like us to get through with smaller developments as well. They need to hit this housing target to house the other Redcar that we're letting in the country every year. As Dennis said, older portfolio landlords are starting to leave. You've got the EPCs that are starting to bite. You've got people like Peter and Rob, who's not here, who can help you raise these EPCs. There's a lot of opportunities for those who come to events like this to actually capitalise on some of these things that are going on. And then I put there net migration. You know, last year there was an extra 205,000 people, who came into the country, as well as the small boats crossings. So all of a sudden we're not building enough houses to start with to deal with the people who are here already. We've got another 250,000 people coming across every year. Like, what's going to happen? Supply and demand, isn't it? So reasons to be cheerful. Fortunately, I mean, we're at the tail end of the yield curve, aren't we? Everyone's chasing yield, but this is a little map I saw on LinkedIn today, Zoopla research, and it just shows you the top areas to invest in this year. And as you can see, we're probably in the right areas, aren't we? I mean, I think we're about here. I don't know, the geography's not great. I think that's Northumberland, isn't it? So as people are chasing yield around the country, the money is coming north, isn't it? Because obviously purchase prices are lower here, and rents are steadily rising. I think a good metric there is the rent, the amount people pay for rent versus their income. So the national average is about 30% of your income goes on your rental payments. And at the moment in the northeast, and this is just Teesside, Darlington areas, it's typically about averaged at 23%. So already there's a 7% potential increase in prices, rental prices there. Obviously, if you've got your ears to the ground, you mentioned Tees Works. You've got so many infrastructure projects. I mean, I'm a bit more Darlington based. We've got the government buildings springing up everywhere. We've got all kinds of weird and wonderful things going on around there. Up north, you've got battery projects, wind farms, all of that kind of stuff. The government is spending so much money on, or wanting to spend so much money, on bringing something north as well. So as things get tight around the capital and government agencies are opening up here, it's expected that people will be heading further north as well. I put there's commercial opportunities. So I sort of mentioned that pubs and hospitality, the business rates have increased. It was this kind of a thing that was glossed over in the budget. It wasn't mentioned at all, and then it's kind of come out in the wash within the weeks following. But a lot of pubs are paying 2 or 3 times business rates. You've got national insurance increases, all of that, the cost of living, minimum wage. So a lot of them are going to be closing. They've had their boom time over Christmas, their busiest period. So I think there's going to be a lot of pubs that are going to be probably shut in. And then I've got secondary retail. I mean, secondary retail, I think your town centres, your city centres, prime retail, they're generally okay. There's always something that's going to fill the space. But it's the kind of the secondary areas where there's opportunities. With commercial, anyone invest in commercial here? Or so obviously the value of a commercial building is based on the lease that's attached to it. So if you're getting a vacant building, you can pick them up for pennies in the pounds. If you're buying one with a Greggs or something like that in, the value is attached to the strength of the lease, how long it is in the rental income. It's a multiplier of that, normally 8 to 10%. But for a vacant building, you can pick them up for buttons, really. And I think that's where there's opportunities to do things like conversions. And I put at the bottom there, Article 4 directions. Why is that a reason to be cheerful? I mean, does anyone here do HMOs in Middlesbrough, for example? I think that's just coming, I don't know how far it stretches, it's quite big, isn't it?
They're trying to do it in all the French countries.
Are they as well? Yeah.
They're pushing for it.
They're bringing one in Darlington, I think, next year as well. So what generally happens with those, they'll announce an Article 4 area, loads of people try and beat it to try and get their grandfather rights. So what it does is it floods the market. You end up with this softening in rents for a bit while there's too many rooms on the market. So why I think it's a reason to be cheerful, don't go and do them now. Wait until the poor buggers who are bouncing around on social media using everyone else's money have spent it, they can't refinance out of it, and you'll be able to again pick it up for 50, 60p in the pound, and that's where you'll make your money. So I think maybe not this year or the next year, but certainly in the next sort of 3 years, there'll be a flood of good HMOs that you'll be able to pick up very, very attractively. That'll be good rentals going forward. So, with all that, this is where we can really pick up the pieces. As I say, there's house builders who aren't building enough houses. We've got a massive demand for new properties. So where can we get in there? Say population growing, house builders not building anything. Prices are actually stagnant, if not falling in real terms. Inflation is running higher than the properties are actually rising, but rents are going up and up. We've got affordability, you've got renters' rights, you've got people exiting the market. There's a lot of, it's only going to go one way, isn't it? You got more. I'm looking for supported tenancies every time one of my properties comes vacant, so I'm taking properties away from the rental pool. You've got less people. The older school landlords, they've had enough, they're retiring, they're taking their properties away. You've got more and more people coming to the country or the area to rent. So what's going to happen? Rents are just going to go up and up because there's more competition for them. I mean, there's more and more investment in the region and more jobs. I can't remember what the figures are on that new office thing in Darlington, but there's a good few thousand people who are going to be working in that one building in the town centre near the police station. And if you believe what Ben Houchen says, or Houchen, however you pronounce his name, I think maybe 80% of the people are going to be from the town. They're not, are they? He's going to give them backhanders to Southerners who are coming up and populating the area. But Southern money's coming up. They're going to want to buy things as well. I mean, God, I sent you the article, didn't I, on the Tees Works and the amount of money gone into that and the amount of money some people have made on it. But yeah, I mean, that's a massive, massive project. And again, just the region's going to boom because of that. Yeah, and we are more affordable. So as people are chasing this yield around, the thing that's going to happen is, while the rest of the country suffers, in my opinion, maybe softens, not really rising in prices, I think there is going to be, it's going to continue sort of steadily increasing in this area. So, opportunities, where should you be looking going forward? I mean, I mentioned about secondary commercial areas. You've got certain permitted development rights to do things to buildings that sort of sidestep traditional planning, so you don't need full planning. So you remove the powers from the planners and you can get things through in about 56 days. So commercial conversions, turning commercial buildings into residential, I think will be quite a lucrative angle. Obviously, you just need to make sure you're keeping track of your build costs on that one. I know from dealing with Dennis, there's a few charities are looking for just like 2 flats, aren't they, at the moment? So I put commercial conversions there, and people are thinking, massive, massive skyscrapers, turn them into flats. It's not that, it might just be a corner shop that you can convert the downstairs and the upstairs into 2 flats, and then you can get a lucrative sort of 7, 10, 15-year deal on, and all of a sudden, you've got guaranteed income for that long. House builders are stalling. So who's going to pick up the pieces? There's going to be a lot of opportunities with some of the planning changes coming in, and obviously the council's not hitting their housing targets for smaller infill plots. They're also getting away from things like nutrient neutrality. They're going to come in with like a SIL type levy, community infrastructure levy, if anyone deals in planning. I mean, the problem we got at the moment is, the Tees is full of basically shit. They're trying to penalise developers for overnight bed stays we're creating, which is just a tax basically. And when your margins are quite slim already, sometimes it's the final nail in the coffin. So what they're going to do is just bring out a blanket system where if you're creating an HMO, a sui generis HMO with 7 toilets, say, it'll be there's £1,000 to pay or something like that. So a lot of the red tape is being removed. Some of these smaller developments and conversion sites are going to become a lot more viable. I've already mentioned supported tenancies. I think there's as Dennis pointed out as well, just knowing that your rent is going to come in for the next 7 years, that's quite a nice feeling, isn't it? You don't have to worry about someone else is picking up the pieces. I mean, certainly with some of the tenancies we've got, working with similar providers or the same providers as Dennis, I just don't hear from anyone. I don't care. It's just they pay the rent, they sort the problems out. It's a nice way to be. With all of these developments in the area, contractor service accommodation is obviously Dennis touched on that one as well. Could be quite a lucrative one. And I know these guys have been developing them in the past, but it's more like heads on beds, isn't it? You need bigger properties rather than your 1 beds and your 2 beds. Talking like 3 or 4 beds, people want to put 4, 5, 6 people in there, off-street parking if you can get it. And then we're seeing a lot of people who are doing larger holiday lets, things like wellness retreats, family get-togethers and things like that. Again, thinking 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bedrooms. They seem to be very popular and they're making good money at the moment as well. Planning gains, if you don't want the risk of development, because there's a lot that can go wrong, let someone else deal with that. Just if you can have the conversation with a landowner or a building owner, again, commercial conversions is a good example, just you do the planning and then sell it on to some other mug who's going to take the risk on the development. They can deal with Roma when they're repossessing their houses and stuff like that. Roma don't do that, by the way. They're very, very relaxed. Maximising development prior to change of use. So there's a lot of PD changes coming, even for the smaller domestic level stuff. Things that are being mooted are things like being able to extend your ridge height up so that you can do loft conversions, wraparound extensions. Currently you've got to do a side extension and a rear extension. You can't do that small square in between. So things like this, if you know about these things when you go into view properties and you're thinking of maybe a HMO conversion, you know you can stack your applications. So you can do your loft conversion, you can do your wraparound extension. Hey ho, you've got 3 or 4 extra bedrooms. And what have I got at the bottom there? Already mentioned it, but smaller apartment schemes. There was a PD right that was again talked about in the before Labour came into power, where you were going to be able to split a house up into 2 flats under PD. It's quite an expensive job to do that by the time you've put your party floors, your party walls and things like that in. But again, if you've got a 7 or a 10-year lease attached to that, you've got guaranteed income, it's not a bad thing to maybe get involved in. But caution, there's, as I talked about, there's a lot of construction costs are mental at the moment, aren't they? So it really does come down to nailing down the finer details as soon as you can to get a guaranteed price, schedule of works, program of works and that kind of thing. I think there's a few of us here who could probably say deleverage as much as possible at the moment. Keep your powder dry. There's going to be a lot of opportunities. But obviously if things are flatlining, I mentioned about these YouTubers who bounce around Samuel Leeds courses and all of that, buying HMOs, borrowing everyone's money and then commercial conversions, commercial valuations, and then they get downvalued. You don't want to be in that position where people are coming for your houses and that. So try and just make things work and try and keep your loan to values as low as possible. Be realistic with timescales and numbers. There's a lot of people I see coming through our doors who've got mentors who think they can do sui generis HMO conversions for 50, 60 grand when you're talking 150 to 250 grand by the time you've done everything that's needed. Just naivety. So be realistic and listen to people who are actually doing this. And look at it as a long-term thing. Again, I think too many people are trying to make too much money very quickly in property, leveraging the hell out of themselves, going hell for leather, as I guess I have to an extent as well, and not thinking of the long game. If you look at it in the 5 or 10 year horizon, property's cyclical. We're just in one of them periods where it's going down at the moment. It will come up again. This is the time to accumulate, so when it goes up, you can possibly sell. Diversify. If you're only doing buy-to-lets, there's so many other things you can do. If you're only doing SA, maybe get a bit of buy-to-let, a little bit of everything so that you're riding the waves of what goes up and down. And secure income, again, kind of banging on about it, but I think there's so much power in getting a secure income and a lease at the moment. Guaranteed income. So just a little bit of how we can help you with the scheme. So this is a residential conversion that's going through at the moment. So just using our PD knowledge, side extensions, rear extensions. So there's an element of that one's planning, that one's PD, that one's PD. So again, mixing and timelining all of these so that you can maximise developments. This was a Grade 2 listed church of my own that we've developed over the past few years. Managed to get 6 flats into there for SA. And this was a commercial conversion, again diversification. We've got two shops with 5 flats above there. Back to brick refurb, sorry, just to go through numbers. That one was a 60 grand purchase. It's worth about 1.2-ish now. This one was a 100 grand purchase and it's worth about 750 now. So yeah, got them finished this year, last year. And yeah, what we do, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, since the Romans. I helped build the Colosseum. But no, HMO conversions, permitted development, new builds, barn conversions, commercial conversions, domestic residential. As I say, I've got a lot of experience in lots of angles and areas of property, so I don't mind sounding off. If you've got a deal, I'm a sounding board for you to come and have a chat and just talk it through and see if it is actually worth spending time on. So that's it for me. Thank you very much for putting up with me. Has anyone got any questions? except Dave. Mhm. Well, you don't know what's coming, so yeah, I mean, it's still quite, there's a lot you can do at the moment, but yeah, they are going to relax some of the rules, I think, so you might get, I mean, again, it depends what you're doing. Commercial conversions, you're limited at the moment by floor area, so they might relax that. Barn conversions, they've changed that, they've given you a bigger floor area allowance that you can do, but they've limited the floor area of the individual units to 150 square metres. So hopefully there's some changes in them because they're some good opportunities. But then, yeah, the PD allowances for raising roof and stuff, they're just being talked about at the moment. You were with John McDermott with us the other day, weren't you? So yeah, I wouldn't hang your hat on, you know, buying at the moment based on that, but they are probably coming in. As we're not building enough houses, things are slowing down. I said planning permissions are down 7%. They need to do something to incentivise. When the government's message was build, 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 and no one's building, like, what are they going to do? Something's going to have to give, aren't they? So, David.
So, with the supported living, I don't know if that's what sort
He might be.
of houses,
Skeletons.
what sort of houses are around for?
Shit ones.
It's a mix, like a total mix, depends on the profile. Houses flat. What going on the back of what Anthony said there was, you would say there's any more questions you can come back to them. There's a massive shortage of one-bed flats, like an unbelievable shortage. A lot of the people in our profile at the minute, a lot of the housing referrals that we've got on, they don't want to go in shared accommodation, they don't qualify for shared accommodation, HMOs aren't going to work, and because they've got some sort of like benefit infrastructure background on their income, they can't afford to maintain like full-size properties, be it a 2-bed or a 3-bed. So there's a massive shortage for 1-bed flats or small 2-bed flats, so that they can live independently on low incomes, and that'll qualify for supported accommodation, social housing and affordable accommodation as well. So there's a big mix, and obviously you get it on the BD from everything he's saying.
Yeah, so just on that, this is where I'm saying about take a long-term view as well, because a lot of the areas, you know, around the northeast, they're not high value where these are needed. You know, it might be Middlesbrough town centre, for example. The flats might be worth, what, 75 grand, 100 grand when you've done them up. It might cost you that to actually build them. But if you've got that secure lease for that long, it's a good investment long term. Yes, you're probably not going to BRRRRRR all of your money out, but longer term, and just looking at a return on your cash invested, that's not a bad thing. So it's, again, taking that longer view at the moment. You're not going to recycle all your money out all the time. Anything else? Anyone else?
Any more questions?
Good.
Points to discuss? No, I'll leave it on. I don't know how much people look at stats and forecasts and things like that. I don't know if anybody does. Like, if you do, shout out. Yeah, like house price index, like one foreign forecast and things like that. I tend to look at it quite frequently, out of personal interest and wanting to tie in with business as well. When we've been going to London the last couple of years, it always forms part of the seminar and presentation that we're talking about. It's always a hot topic, so we've been working in the background for the last couple of years, expecting the base rate to drop to about 3.5%. We're pretty much there, so if we get another base rate reduction in February, it should flatline at 3.5%, and that should be it done. And the house price forecasts nationally, the strongest area in the UK is the North East at the moment. And if you look at the Savills house price report from December 2025,
it's always sunshine, isn't it, on there?
They dipped it down, so it was up, then it was down, and then brought it back, and now we're forecast 28.8% growth over the next 5 years. So it's, even if you said 25% as a reasonable measure, if you buy a house now for 100 grand, following those stats by Savills on Rightmove, it should be worth 125 in 5 years, and that's all going to be driven by the amount of money that's coming in from out the area, overseas and down south, coming to the north east and driving and buying on yield and pushing new money in the market. And there's a massive reduction on the amount of rental properties that are coming to the market as well, so supply and demand issues there. Everything's just going to keep pushing things in the right direction. So time in the market is the right way to play. It's a long game. You can just sit and ride it out. And we've done big projects over the last couple of years. They've gone in the right direction, then gone bad for one reason or another, then pull back round again. And you sit and look at it now and you think, actually, everything just levels itself out over a period of time, and you can just see values incrementally increasing. Houses that we sold a few years ago for 50 grand, are 70 grand now. Houses that we sold a few years ago for 70, 80 grand, a 90, 100 grand now. It's already happened. 5% growth last year, we're going to get 5% growth this year. We'll just continue and continue. So if you're mortgaged at 75% loan to value this year, in a few years' time, you're probably going to be mortgaged at 60% loan to value, and you probably haven't done anything other than collect your rent. And if you're looking at big schemes, like I know Selden, Matthew and Ian, they're looking at doing a big project down the road, and that'll be a big block of flats, and that could benefit from a lot of growth and quite a strong covenant from a social housing lease, housing association lease in the background that help drive value of building up. But the smaller deals as well, like what you said, the PD units, buying new commercial units with a flat upstairs, converting downstairs, they will work really well, and instead of getting £500 a month rent, you're probably going to get 1100, 1200 backed by a housing association. There's a massive demand for those in the market, definitely.
Yeah, cool. Just to add to that, I was going to say, just when you are buying, just buy making money now. Don't rely on hopium and a capital appreciation that might never come, which is what's happening in London, isn't it? People buy down there, capital appreciation. It always goes up, and a lot of people are left with houses they overpaid for in COVID or after COVID that are now sinking in value because the market's just not there. So just make sure you're making money and everything will be fine.